What's up, everybody? I'm Cindy Goodman, and in today's Daily Fix, Stadia is blaming Microsoft, Xbox continues to support accessibility, and Pacifico and Tony Hawk are giving away a next-gen console. Roll the thing. The Microsoft Bethesda deal is quite a behemoth for gaming fans, and it turns out it also had some pretty major ripple effects for industry giants as well. In this case, Google. Turns out the landmark acquisition was reportedly a factor in Google's decision to close its Stadia game development studios. A report from Kotaku says that Google Stadia general manager Phil Harrison brought it up as a factor during Q&A with staff following Google's decision to shut down its two internal game studios in Los Angeles and Montreal earlier this year. According to Kotaku's sources, Harrison, quote, pointed specifically to Microsoft's buying spree and planned acquisition of Bethesda software later this year as one of the factors that have made Google decide to close the book on original game development. If you need a refresher, Microsoft's acquisition of ZeniMax Media and Bethesda Softworks is about to bring blockbuster franchises like The Elder Scrolls, Fallout, and Doom into the Xbox fold. And while Harrison is pointing at the deal as a factor in closing Stadia's studios, I can't help but be a bit confused about the connection between the acquisition and Stadia's decision. On one hand, it's hard not to take Harrison's comments as Google realigning the blame from their own product pitfalls to another company's movement. However, it could also be Stadia's perceived inability for its first-party games to compete in the market. And don't forget about Project xCloud, Xbox's cloud gaming service, aka Stadia competition. Now that Bethesda is under Microsoft's umbrella, Microsoft could theoretically pull all Bethesda games from Stadia and/or bar future releases from the platform. Where things get blurry for me is if the Microsoft Bethesda deal does in fact limit Bethesda games from the Stadia platform, wouldn't first-party studios be more important than ever? Or maybe Google is trying to free up the capital it feels it needs in order to pay the likely lofty price of Microsoft-owned Bethesda games. Whatever Google's reasoning is, Harrison's statements definitely shed a new light on the Microsoft Bethesda acquisition and what it could mean for the future of gaming beyond just software, but also in this new era of streaming wars. More Microsoft news for ya. All the way back in 2019, I know that feels like decades ago at this point, Microsoft published a set of Xbox accessibility guidelines to help its developers make their video games on its platform more accessible. And now those guidelines are getting an overhaul, which includes the ability for developers to send in their games to Microsoft itself for accessibility feedback. In a blog post today, Xbox shared that the changes to its guidelines come as a result of a year's worth of feedback from game developers who, quote, expressed enthusiasm but also asked for additional context and clarification as to how to ensure these guidelines are properly implemented in their games. The changes implemented today include adjustments to the language used in the guidelines to make them more clear and easy to understand, added elements like goals, scoping questions, and key target areas to help developers understand why each area is important and navigate the guidelines more easily. And the biggest change that I kind of already mentioned is that developers can now send in their Xbox or PC games to Microsoft to have them, quote, analyzed and validated based on their guidelines and receive feedback on any issues to help them understand where players with disabilities might struggle and how those issues could be fixed. And most importantly of all, members of Xbox's gaming and disability community will be a part of the game feedback process. Xbox has been a vocal advocate for more accessible gaming for years now, most notably with the release of the Xbox Adaptive Controller, and it's awesome to see that they continue to support accessibility. And finally, the moment you've all been waiting for, another edition of the Fix Flashback, where we check out the most bonkers moments of the Tony Hawk franchise presented by Pacifico. Why, you ask? Because, I answer. Moment 3 belongs to Ragdoll Physics in Tony Hawk's Project 8, a game that featured some of the silliest ragdoll physics ever put on a disc. It was so goofy and so beautiful. The game even featured missions that required you to break as many bones as possible. And if you haven't had your fix of Tony Hawk, make sure to tune into Pacifico's Tony Hawk Pro Skater Challenge, live streaming on IGN's homepage, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch channels, tomorrow, February 18th at 5 p.m. Pacific. During the event, Tony Hawk himself will play his own game, and quite frankly, I think that's reason enough to tune in. But if you need an extra push, there's prizes. One grand prize winner will walk away with a next-gen console, gaming headset, chair, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2, 55-inch 4K TV, and a mini fridge. Also, 30 lucky winners will receive an Astro A40 headset. And that's Daily Fix. I'm Sydney Goodman, and I hope your day is as awesome as you are. Now that you're all caught up on the news, check out our latest IGN Now, which deep dives into the news that Rian Johnson's Star Wars trilogy is apparently still a thing, what it means, and how we got here. Download the IGN app on all your mobile devices, subscribe to Daily Fix on Snapchat, and for all things everything else, IGN.com.
Stadia is so impossibly mind-bending, so free to move from screen to screen, so not dependent on downloads or updates. It's like nothing you've ever played games on before!